1973, the Broncos stood on the threshold of a championship. In a valiant struggle against the defending champion Oakland Raiders, the Denver Broncos came within one touchdown of winning the Western Division Championship of the American Football Conference. It was a bitter ending for the Broncos, but even so, it could not tarnish the luster of a brilliant season. The first winning season ever in the history of the Denver Broncos. Football season begins with a promise, but the promise of a winner must be made with more than just words. In his second year as head coach, John Ralston feels that he has found the men who can fulfill the promise of victory. On opening day, the Broncos surprised the Cincinnati Bengals with a wide-open freewheeling attack. Denver scores 4 touchdowns and wins 28-10. It is an exciting beginning for the Broncos, but like so many previous seasons, Denver's blooming hopes are soon withered by failure and defeat. In their second game, the Broncos lose to the San Francisco 49ers 36-34. They are mauled by the Chicago Bears 33-14. Denver falls to last place when they are beaten by the Kansas City Chiefs 16-14. The great expectations of 1973 are submerged in the backwash of 3 consecutive losses. In each of these defeats, Denver's offense seemed vigorous and well-planned, but it was plagued by inconsistency, and often their best efforts were turned against them. The defense was eager and talented, but it was also easily fooled and often exploited. But in spite of this discouraging beginning, there was something about this Bronco team that made it different from the Bronco teams of the past. It wasn't obvious, but it was there. It was sporadic and unpredictable, like flashes of angry light before a thunderstorm. Call it guts, call it determination, call it a refusal to quit. It's men responding to each other and caring about their success together. It's the essence of a winning spirit.
This is a classroom. If you're ready for the challenge, today's Army is ready for you. Call this number toll-free for your nearest Army representative.
On October 14th in the Astrodome, the Broncos end their losing streak with an overwhelming victory over the Houston Oilers, 48-20. The following Monday, under the harsh glare of a nationwide television audience, the Broncos meet the Western Division champions, the Oakland Raiders.
All right, now this is when you find out what kind of football team we have. Find out how badly we want to play the game.
Okay!
Early in the game, Denver capitalizes on a Raider mistake. Bill Thompson scoops up a fumble and speeds 80 yards to the goal line. The Raiders retaliate when a missed assignment in the Broncos secondary leaves Mike Ciani wide open for an 80-yard touchdown pass. The determined Broncos refuse to surrender the initiative, and with 41 seconds left in the game, the score is tied 20-20. But then George Blanda kicks a 49-yard field goal to give Oakland a 23-20 lead. With only 30 seconds left to play, the Raiders seemed assured of victory. But positive thinkers have no time for thoughts of defeat. In 23 seconds, the Broncos run off 3 solid games and move into field goal range at the Oakland 28. With 7 seconds remaining, Jim Turner's field goal attempt is good, and the Broncos escape defeat. The game ends in a tie, and the lessons learned are more important than the final grade. The Broncos had stood up under pressure, and like a diamond, they had hardened into something they had not been before. And it suddenly becomes evident that the men who can lead the Denver Broncos to their first winning season are now in uniform. Supercharged with confidence and spirit, the Broncos destroy the New York Jets 40-28. The following week, the Broncos again demonstrate the poise to stand up under pressure as Jim Turner kicks a last-second field goal to gain a tie with the St. Louis Cardinals. The San Diego Chargers are no match for the stampeding Broncos, who pour through the leaky Charger defenses for 30 points and another victory. As the season progresses into November, it becomes apparent that the Broncos are legitimate contenders for the Western title. This is just about the same Denver team as the one that seemed only a shade better than mediocre in 1972. There have been few changes in personnel, but in execution and confidence, it is an entirely different team. The offense, the squad's strong point in 1972, was even more prolific in 1973. The major factor for this continued progress was quarterback Charlie Johnson. Johnson has a PhD in chemical engineering, but he'll admit that it's just as difficult to earn a postgraduate degree as a quarterback as it is to earn one as a chemist. After 13 years and 3,000 passes, Johnson is finally being recognized as one of pro football's premier quarterbacks. In 1973, he led the conference in touchdown passes, and under his experienced leadership, the Broncos scored more points than any team in the AFC. Johnson's considerable skills as a passer were amplified by an able and exciting core of receivers. Tight end Riley Odoms, number 88, in only his second year in the NFL, achieved all-pro status and led the Broncos in receptions with 43. Haven Moses, number 25, is not as hard to bring down as Odoms, but he's twice as hard to catch. Moses was the Broncos' clutch receiver, and his ability to make the big play earned him a spot on the Pro Bowl team. Moses and Odoms, together with Billy Van Dusen, Jerry Simmons, number 80, and Gene Washington, number 84, enabled the Broncos to lead the AFC in yards gained passing. Still, another facet of the Bronco offense was the versatility of the setbacks. Floyd Little, number 44, gained a total of 1,400 yards rushing and receiving. He led the team in touchdowns and enjoyed his finest season ever as a pass receiver. Rookie Otis Armstrong, number 24, saw limited action in the backfield, but it was enough to justify his selection as the team's number 1 draft pick. Most of the time, Little's running mate was number 33, tough Joe Dawkins. At 223 pounds, Dawkins is not considered a breakaway threat. Yet his 75-yard touchdown against the Chiefs was the Broncos' longest running play of the year. Both Dawkins and Little took smart advantage of the crisp blocking of a rapidly improving offensive line. Guard Tommy Lyons is the smallest man on the line, but he's also its most effective trap blocker. Center Bobby Maples and guard Mike Schnittker frequently combined their talents to pry open holes in the enemy's middle. Tackle Marv Montgomery is the man who puts the power in the power sweep. When Montgomery was injured, guard Laren Jackson moved over to Montgomery's tackle slot and ably filled in as lead man on the sweep. Tackle Mike Current is the biggest member of the offensive line, but he too is quick enough to get outside and open an alley for the ball carrier.
Summer's almost given way to souvenirs and yesterdays now. It's a change in time. at every end, there's always a beginning to be found. Now it's a changing time.
When you realize your summer job won't last a lifetime, call your Army representative. Today's Army will teach you a skill, not just a job.
The true worth of the Broncos offense was revealed in the 10th game of the season. In the hostile confines of the Steel City, the Broncos' winning wave smashes into the rocks of the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. The Steelers are heavily favored, but they're not prepared for the raw power of the Bronco running attack, and Denver controls the ball and the game, running 72 plays to Pittsburgh's 40. Riding high on the momentum and enthusiasm of 5 straight games without a defeat, the underdog Broncos swamped the Steelers 23-13. It's a special victory, a magic moment for a group of determined men who for the first time feel the fighting joy of a winning spirit. The following week, the Broncos focus their attentions on the only team which stands between them and undisputed first place in the Western Division. The Kansas City Chiefs use their size and strength to control the early tempo of the game, but the second quarter finds the Broncos marching to the beat of a different tune. Charlie Johnson decides to go over instead of through the Chief defense, and his change of strategy results in a touchdown pass to Haven Moses. Seconds later, the Johnson to Moses lightning strikes again. Moses' touchdown gives the Broncos a decided advantage, 14-3. The Chiefs are a veteran team, and more than that, they are a team that's always a contender, playing one big game after another, and they do not easily lose their poise or give up hope. They narrowed Denver's lead to 4 points, but all their poise and experience could not get them another score against the tenacious Denver defense. In the dying seconds, Charlie Greer shuts off the Chiefs' last hope with a diving interception. And for one glorious Sunday, the Denver Broncos stand alone on the summit of the Western Division.
I want you to be the first to know. I joined the Army, so I guess it means goodbye. Chris, I joined the Army, so I guess this means goodbye. Susie, I've joined the Army, so I guess it's goodbye. Linda, I joined the Army, so I guess it means goodbye. Ellen, I'm leaving for the Army next week.
When did you join?
Last July.
With the Army's delayed entry program, you can enlist now and take up to 6 months to say goodbye. Call toll-free for more information.
Program, here, get your program.
One big reason for Denver's dramatic rise to the top of the division was the aggressive play of their restructured defense. Number 36, Bill Thompson, was shifted from cornerback to safety to take advantage of his range and tackling ability. Ray May, number 56, once played for the world champion Baltimore Colts. He brought his championship spirit to Denver and began to establish a sense of unity in the defense by introducing the practice of holding hands in the huddle. Paul Smith, number 70, and Lyle Alzado, number 77, have worked together for 3 years, and many a ball carrier has felt the cruel power of their embrace. Alzado is a punishing tackler whose fierce intensity is evident on every play. Paul Smith's outstanding play at defensive tackle earned him All-Pro recognition for the 2nd year in a row. Smith is a quiet, controlled man, and when he gets excited, it inspires the whole team. And emotion is a vital resource of the young Denver defense, which uses power and pursuit to offset inexperience. In the final home game of the season against the Dallas Cowboys, the Broncos suffered their first loss in 8 games. But far from weakening their spirit, the defeat roused it to a more intense flame, and the Broncos arrived in San Diego with their hearts on fire.
Come on, now, get him back. We got to have it back. Coming back. All right, all right. Make it go, make it go. Make it in. Hit him.
Denver out-hit and out-fought the Chargers and won easily, 42-28. This victory set up the season-ending playoff game with the Oakland Raiders, but it also marked the fulfillment of a promise. First time ever, the Denver Broncos are a winning team. 7 wins, 5 losses, 2 ties. And John Ralston was named AFC Coach of the Year. There's something about winning that changes a team. It stirs ambitions that will not again be quiet. Next year's promise is not only for a winner, but for a champion.
When you're at the stadium, you see professional athletes being professionals, but you don't see the sweat and the bruises in training, the self-discipline and the motivation that goes into the making of a team that can press on right to the end. You have to get it all together in any worthwhile effort, sports, business, or the United States Army. This is Pat Summerall saying so long for the United States Army and the National Football League, and thanks for the opportunity of bringing you this program.